What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of We Are the Podcast Champions, or Podcast Champs, as I like to kind of make things smaller. Your boy Damian Salty G, my man DEO in the building. What up, Dio?
Dude, it's cold down here, man. Like, it's nice. It's 16 degrees. The Atlanta is basically an entire sheet of ice. It's fun times.
Look, first and foremost, before we came on air, just talking about cold weather made me sad, okay? Because right now in my apartment building, we are literally on tenant strike from paying the rent because the landlord does not want to put the heat on. So all of us got together and decided, bonk y'all, we ain't paying the rent until you put the heat on. And he's over here bitching about it being an old boiler. And look, my dad's been a building superintendent for years. The old boiler trick in New York City does not work against me. So when I tell y'all, I'm cold too. Dio's cold and it's like 16 degrees. Right now in New York, it's about 22. Feels like it's 12. I'll be in Florida doing hood boogery things this next weekend. So I am looking forward to at least 62-degree weather.
Dude, and this is the crazy part about it down here is, so it's 16 degrees now. It's going to be 62 degrees on Sunday.
That is so weird, man.
And it sucks for y'all up there because we already know the rent is too damn high already up there. So, you know, like to not have that, I know. Like,
by the way, do you remember the guy who was a meme? He was like, the rent's too damn high.
That's the guy. Yeah.
I met that guy. I met him randomly at a, where was I? I was at a social function and I'm just walking through the neighborhood and I thought he was a panhandler dude because he rolled up on me like shit was sweet. And I'm like, what do you want? He's like, you don't know who I am? Like, nope. And then he goes into full gimmick mode. The rent's too damn high. Wow. And I'm still looking like, and my homegirl came out and said, that's the dude from the internet. And, you know, in pure like, oh, light bulb fashion, figured out who it was. So it's kind of funny how you mentioned that. But yeah, the rent is too damn high, and the fact that it's fucking cold. Pardon my French, everybody. So we need to fantasize about warm weather. So hopefully in the next couple of days, myself will be in some 65-degree weather. Dio will get his 62-degree weather, and we'll all be in a better mood. But going back to what we said before, this show is going to be about gimmicks.
Or the lack thereof.
Or lack thereof. Because some people, be it in wrestling, or be it in life or in broadcasting, they like to hide behind something called a gimmick. Now, if you're a non-wrestler listening to the show, the gimmick is basically your persona. It is the character you portray. If it's in wrestling, if it's in acting, or maybe you're a broadcaster where you're on air, that is who you portray. Now, the line gets very, very vague.
To say the least.
When people try to meld gimmick to human together. And they often say in wrestling that the best gimmicks are when you play yourself amped up about maybe 1,000 degrees. Case in point, The Rock has always said that. Stone Cold Steve Austin has always said that their characters were always themselves just cranked up to 1,000. Now, that's all fine and dandy because, you know, Hogan had a gimmick, you know, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, you know, the training and whatnot. And then we turn now Hulk Hogan, you know, says some racist ass stuff every once in a while.
Right.
You know, Ultimate Warrior, the power of the Warriors, and every incoherent rambling he used to do back in 1988. And it turns out he was a staunch conservative and a homophobe. And don't let the Warrior Award fool you, bro. He wasn't a good dude up until his death. So again, gimmick versus real life. Here's the thing about you and I, Dio, and I want you to chime in on this.
Mm-hmm.
When you and I record, whenever we've done shows together, be it Last Mark Standing, be it crowd interference, and doing this, you and I are the most authentic pair of individuals doing a show together, because I know I pull no punches, and what you see is what you get when I'm on air, and I know the same for you. So if you can enlighten the audience about how non-different you are from the quote-unquote gimmick, please do so.
Oh yeah, no, so I am. If you follow my feed, if I'm not being like an aggregate for funny memes and such,
yes,
I love to dole out random philosophical nonsense, calling people out. If something's stupid, I'm going to say it's stupid. If somebody's doing something that is offensive, what I'm going to call them out on it. I'm the same way in real life. Like, I have lost so many people that you would consider a friend because I've told them when they're doing something stupid, right? Like when they're in a relationship that is bad for both of the people in the relationship, I tell them about it. And what happens? I get ostracized in our group of friends because I chased that person away. Then years later, oh yeah, you know what? You were right. Well, yeah. But yeah, no, this is what you see is what you get. Like, I am the same guy. The only other time that I switch up is when I'm at work because I have to put on the interview voice. And yeah, that's about it. And
that's it. You're you 24/7, 365 or 366, depending on if it's a leap year or not. Right. And, I respect that. And that's one of the things I respect most about you. Like we talked about previously, there's only a handful of people you and I mess with in terms of like Wrestle Twitter, who will legitimately are people we can converse with outside of Wrestle Twitter. And you and I are two of those people that can do that. But when you start living by the gimmick and you don't know who you are anymore because you're part of the gimmick, that's a problem.
Right.
On the other hand, you can be a gimmick in name alone and no one knows who you are, i.e. someone comes to mind who was just recently signed by WWE, one named Ricochet. I need to ask the question, what the hell is Ricochet's gimmick?
He doesn't have one. He does not have a gimmick or a character. Ricochet has gotten by just because he is an astonishing athlete, can do amazing things in the ring. Like, that has been what has carried him for the longest time. Because it's like, if you go back to when he was in New Japan or when he's done stuff in ROH or wherever, there's no discernible character. It's, oh, Ricochet's here. And it's like, oh, well, we know we're going to get a ton of dope flippy stuff. And now we're going to get a ton of dope flippy stuff with more power moves. But like, there's no real gimmick, like and even the whole King Ricochet thing that he goes by now, that's just a fact because he is the best, probably pound for pound, the best high flyer of everybody in the world right now, I guess you could say. So like, but other than that, like, there's nothing. Even when he was in Lucha Underground and he was Prince Puma, he had a gimmick in name only. And we knew that he was Prince Puma of, this tribe from Hispanic culture. And, Conan did all of the talking for him. And even when he finally started to talk, he still didn't really even have a character. Even when they turned him dark, he still didn't really have a character. He was just doing bad guy things, but still had the same moveset. Like there's a ton of people like that in pro wrestling where they have a gimmick that they'll say, okay, this is what I am, but they won't actually embody the character. They won't try to convey that this is what they are. We have a ton of great examples of people that have done this. You have the Su Youngs. The Undead Bride is a full-blown, full-fledged character. What she is from the moment she steps out from behind the curtains till when she leaves. You know exactly what she is. Even with people that have like less discernible things like Penta Zero M, or however you say it now. Like, what his character is at this point. It is a very, what it is. Like, you even had, there are some people within the WWE, even like, the Usos, who the Usos are, who the New Day is. Like, you have who each member of these groups are. But then you have other folks where it's like, like, for instance, Ember Moon.
Dude,
I don't know what Ember Moon's gimmick is. When she first showed up, it was like, okay, she is every female Mortal Kombat character smashed into one, right? Okay, but she's not that anymore. Now she's a werewolf, demon hunting princess thing. Oh, no, she's not that anymore. Okay, now she is a warrior princess.
She's a war goddess.
A war goddess? So it's like, but, and that's the thing, does nothing to actually convey this during the match or even in promos. Like, it's just like you have these folks that they tell you what the gimmick is, and since you've been told that, you just kind of go, you kind of figure it out on your own, and it's like, that's not really, that's not how this works. That's not how a gimmick works.
I was talking about this with Chip Kayfabe, my producer over at Shattered Glasscast. Mm-hmm. Him and I had the same opinion about Ember Moon, where we're thinking, what is she doing again? What is her whole? Is she a huntress? Is she, is she foraging? What is going on? And now, I guess with the announcers are more portraying her as this war goddess. That's what they're sticking with. Whereas on the other hand, let's say you got somebody, and I hate to bring up this name because as a Latin guy, I kind of get offended by it. No Way Jose.
Mm-hmm.
His whole gimmick is he's a Dominican dude dressed in white, saucing his way into the ring, and Dominicans don't salsa. I don't know where this, and I got into a conversation with my Dominican friends about this. They were like, what is this corny ass portrayal of a Dominican dude dancing salsa? Right. And that's a measure of a gimmick where you're thinking, no, this is dead on arrival. Right. Sort of, if you remember Adam Rose or Leo Kruger, whatever the hell he was.
Leo Kruger was dope.
Yeah, Leo Kruger, if you put him together with, let's say, Bray Wyatt, I thought they would have been a great tag team. Just on the sheer psychoses alone.
Right.
But then he became Russell Brand from that movie, Get Him to the Greek.
Yep.
That's who Adam Rose's character was. And it died the minute it got to the main roster. Yep. Whereas on, NXT, and we talk about this all the time, NXT gimmicks work well for NXT because it's an indie style audience.
Right.
When you have to go in front of the casuals, you think No Way Jose is going to get over with that gimmick? Hell no.
And the other thing is, like, NXT is a echo chamber. Like, everything is done at Full Sail. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of times these people that go to Full Sail, they go to these events, on a weekly basis.
Right.
Like, they go all the time. So, and they're going to cheer for everybody no matter what. Like Blue Pants, for instance. Blue Pants should have never been a thing.
Nope.
Should have never been a thing. Like, you have a lot of this stuff where, like, the folks at Full Sail kind of have like this weird little club going on that they're like, oh yeah, we can make this cool. And that a lot of times when you have such a rabid reaction there to things, and then when you take it up to the main roster, these people are not the same. Like, the people at Full Sail are essentially mutants when it comes to like, they are not the regular audience. They are an offshoot. They are a very specific niche. Yes, you might have some of those people in the crowd, but they are a different subspecies essentially. And that's not to say that in a bad way, but you have different kinds of pro wrestling fans. And in NXT, you have all this stuff like the Perfect 10 gimmick. That was
oh my god, yeah,
that was amazing in NXT. Put that on the main roster. Nobody gives a damn about those Perfect 10.
When was the last time we saw Ty Dillinger do anything on TV?
Exactly. So yeah, like, a lot of that's anything that we see at NXT, and like the whole thing with No Way Jose, like, it was when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of catchy. It's, I like the theme and all that stuff, but it's like, whoa, wait a minute. He's Dominican. That's not what Dominicans do.
Right.
Like, there are a great many stereotypes that you could have gone with for Dominicans. But
Vince loves his stereotypes.
Oh, and that's exactly what it was. You could tell that somebody there was like, you know what? He's Latin.
Let's
go with that. Even though, there are different kinds of Latino. Like, there are so if you're in the Caribbean, every single island has its own very distinctive populations and cultures. Hell, the Dominican Republic and Haiti are the same island and have two drastically different cultures, two different languages on top of that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you could tell, and this is the whole old boys club thing that they have at the WWE that I cannot wait for these people to either be ushered out or have to, age out, die out. I don't know, because it's stuff like that you know, when you look at the roster there, you know, it's a bit of a tangent, but like when you look at the roster, when it's people of color, it's always like this crazy extreme stereotypes that they deal in, you know, and you don't really get that otherwise. So, and like in the WWE, a lot of times, you know, the gimmick that you had out on the indies isn't necessarily what you're going to have when you come there. You know, Sarah Logan was Crazy Mary Dobson before.
And I love the Crazy Mary Dobson gimmick.
Right. And
now she dresses like a raccoon.
Dresses like a raccoon, speaks in an accent that is not hers in any way, shape, or form, or even from the place where her character says they're from. So it's like the WWE, you know, if you don't have a distinctive character or like a good sense for the character, they're going to stick you with whatever they want to. So, you know,
this brings up a good person to reference now. Velveteen Dream, because you and I talked about him earlier this week. His first gimmick when he came out, first off, he was Patrick Clark Republican, I guess. That was the first gimmick they tried on NXT Full Sail. Yep. And then he became this amalgam of Prince and Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did a Last Mark Standing show about whether or not he was playing up the minstrel role, whether or not that's something he came up with or was put upon him. But now, you know, we talked about how it seems he's owning this. And I told this to a friend of mine. I'm like, man, he is the new age ravishing Rick Rude.
No two ways about it. Like even down to the tights that he had at TakeOver.
And I think that is great. I think the fact that he's paying homage to the past, because you should always pay homage to the past, especially if it was a character worth emulating. Right. And in this case, he is the new age ravishing Rick Rude. And I was there for TakeOver, TakeOver Houston. He bought it all. Like people around me were thinking, oh crap, ravishing Rick Rude tights. Oh wow, he spray painted what's his face's name, face and name on his tights, Aleister Black. That is a good gimmick. That is taking what you've been given and making it your own.
Right. And like the thing with like, so the whole reason as to like why, because for me when it first started out, like I'm sorry, I'm a, you know, y'all can call me a libtard or whatever you want, a snowflake. I can't do it with anybody that does like the whole Trump supporter thing. I just can't. It is just, you know, I'm the son of two immigrants. It's just not going to happen. So when he first started, that was, like you said, that was his gimmick that he was doing on like house shows and stuff. It did not go over well at all.
Nope.
So you had that. And then once they initially started the whole Velveteen Dream thing, it was like, you could tell that he was not comfortable with the gimmick and that he didn't actually know what the character was. So, because he was taking, essentially, it was like a mashup of what people, if you were to ask somebody that was not familiar with Jimi Hendrix or Prince and ask them what Jimi Hendrix or Prince was like, that's what you would get. It was like you mashed up those two, you know, descriptions of someone that you got from playing the telephone game back in elementary school. And it was unbelievable. It was, as I'm a very big Prince fan, this was nothing like what Prince was. Right. This was nothing even like what Jimi Hendrix was. So it was just this weird amalgamation of, you know, stereotypes of what those two characters, because Prince and Jimi Hendrix both had their own gimmicks inside and outside of when they were on stage. So once, you know, it was a slow build. You know, the stuff with Aleister Black was amazing. Like it went from being, okay, this is just whatever, to being like, oh, there's something here. And, you know, when the whole say my name thing, and, you know, all the way up to TakeOver, where it was like, that was the crescendo. That was when everything just came together, and it was just like, oh shit, this kid gets it. Like he completely understands the character. And that was one of the things when he was on Tough Enough, which that show, I'm still mad about Gigi not being, you know, in the WWE, because
she will be eventually, dude. We've talked about this.
Eventually. But well, hopefully, she just had some surgery recently. But so you had, even on Tough Enough, he would have these little sparks where you would see, oh shit, he understands character work really well.
Yes.
You can tell he as a person. And this is one of those things, like, I used to believe the whole thing of when the folks said that your gimmick is you turned up to 1,000 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really believe that anymore, because when you have folks like Patrick Clark, who is essentially an introvert like me, and
no, you're not.
no, I am an introvert in that, like, so like when you look up the actual term introvert, like, I don't like, it's not that I don't like going around people, it's just that it tires me out. You know?
I understand,
yeah. So like with him, somebody that is introverted, and you can tell, like, as a person, like while he was on Tough Enough and just other stuff too, the kid's pretty shy as well. Mm-hmm. So when you have something like him and you've seen that he can go into these different characters. When he would go in, you could see when he would be in a challenge or whatever, but when he's just sitting there talking to people, it was like he was lost, you know? But then when it was time to cut a promo, though, then it was just like, oh shit, he is like
he's mastered that aspect of professional wrestling very quickly.
Very quickly.
And I'm glad to see that. And I'm glad when people actually, they kind of take ownership of the gimmick they've been given. Prime example, Damian Sandow, when he was doing the stunt double gimmick.
Yep.
That is a man who was handed doo-doo. Literal hot flaming garbage, and got more over than the person he was emulating. So right then and there, that tells you it's all on the person to make the gimmick work. But there are just some people that can't make a gimmick work no matter how hard you try. Yep. I mean, how many times have they repackaged Luke Harper and Eric Rowan? Now they're the Hammer Brothers, or Fake War Machine, or Bludgeon Brothers, whatever you want to call them.
And Bludgeon Brothers aren't, now that you've got War Machine, Bludgeon Brothers are not going to last. You know,
right. Like, they're probably going to get squashed by War Machine just for you know, shits and giggles, but
probably, yeah. Like the Ascension, you know, like,
oh, that's another one.
Another example of it works in NXT because that fan base becomes personally invested in these characters. So like the whole thing of when Connor would have somebody in the corner and he's stomping them and the crowd's yelling, yeah, 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 each time he did it. Mm-hmm. Like that was a very specific thing to the culture of NXT. So, you know, it's the gimmick it wasn't until, you know, another wayward pair of people, the Fashion Police, who, you know, another group that took garbage and has made it gold, right? Mm-hmm. And in doing that, they've also helped the Ascension, who I don't even understand why they got squashed and buried the way that they did. I don't remember ever hearing anything about them being like rude or anything like that.
No, I didn't hear anything either.
But for some reason, they got up on the main roster and everybody just had to shit on them. So, yeah, how WWE works doesn't make any sense to me. But the way that they have each taken their gimmicks and they have worked it into something that works, you know, even hell, I'll even go as far as to say Gallows and Anderson don't even actually have
a gimmick. Like, they do not. They're just playing themselves. That's what they're doing.
Right. So it's like, I know what their characters are. I don't know what their gimmick is. You know, like the whole Balor Club thing, I guess we'll see in the next few months what this pans out to be, if it pans out to anything at all. Shout out to Seth Rollins bringing back the
curb stomp, the blackout, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Welcome back.
Welcome back. But yeah, like there's a lot of folks that it is a gimmick that is pushed to sell merch more than it is an actual.
I know, and that bothers me. That bothers me in all walks of life. Like even in athletics, when, you know, remember Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel. That all he wanted to be, you know, he wasn't a football player. He was a caricature of himself when he's Johnny Football. Yep. Tebow, when he's on the field, he's like the messiah of college football. You know, you start to envelop these gimmicks and develop these gimmicks in all walks of life. And it's another example of wrestling permeating into other parts of existence. Mm-hmm. Prime example, our president is a wrestling gimmick gone wrong that is now the president of the United States. So much so, he's making North and South Korea actually team up. Go figure.
Right. Sworn, like blood feud sworn enemies. You know,
like, you know what? We'll get along because this dude's a jack and ape. but that's neither here nor there. But it's just nice to see the world of professional wrestling is reaching other parts of society and sports and just public lexicon. And oh, that actually brings me up to another point. People who go around saying they're a heel in real life.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Stop it.
Right. Like so like and even the term heel in this day and age, most people actually don't even know what the hell a heel is. You know, like even in pro wrestling, folks, there have been so many tweener gimmicks that have been quote unquote heels for so long that it's like, yeah, we don't even know what a damn heel is at this point. And the simple fact that you are using pro wrestling lingo for your everyday life, it's not a good thing, you know. Like that's not something.
And you and I see it on social media all the time, where people are often saying, "Well, this is my gimmick." To do what? To sell video games? That's your gimmick. You work at GameStop. You don't need a gimmick. All right, and there's nothing wrong with being a janitor, because my dad's been a porter and a super for 30 some odd years. But you don't need a gimmick when you work a blue collar job. Why are you telling people you have a gimmick? Like, are you that displeased with your existence that you have to justify it to yourself? Well, I'm a wrestling heel. You don't even wrestle. You're not a manager. You're not even a broadcaster. You're just a dude. Like, knock it off.
And then you have like, and this is so, you know, we just had the whole incident recently with the, you know, sexual misconduct and sexual harassment, sexual, you know, abuse that we had in pro wrestling recently. And when you have folks that are quote unquote a pro wrestling heel on, you know, Twitter, you know, what is his name? Venom Bites or whatever the fuck his name was.
Venom Bites, yeah.
Whole dick bag. But like when you have folks like that will go so far into their gimmick that they are actually doing harm to people, right? Like it's one thing if, you know, you disagree with somebody's opinion or whatever, but when you are actively engaging with people in the industry to cause harm to people, whether that be physical or mental, like that's when it's gone too far, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's when it goes too far. I understand if you know, if you have a gimmick on here, on like your podcast, or, you know, if you play a video game and you have a gimmick on that game, understandable, right? That's understandable. But when you do things that affect people in real life, nah, like it's not cute. You know, it's not something to be proud of, because here's the thing that you don't understand. There's a lot of people on Twitter that aren't going to say anything to you. But there are people that when you meet them in person, you might have to catch those hands.
Catch these hands 2018, man.
Like this isn't like, you know, sure that you have a lot of folks that'll, you know, talk about, no, like, trust me, when you take it so far that you are actually actively harming people, that's when people will reach out and touch you. You probably won't like it.
And you ain't gonna like the way they touch you with the fist across the jaw. I'm just saying that's my own perspective on it. I'm looking up the word heel as it relates to people. So the definition by Merriam-Webster is a contemptible person, a person who is self-centered or untrustworthy. That is what being a heel is. Okay, I'm sorry, but no, unless you are a criminal, this looks like criminal behavior. You know what I mean? Like,
right? Yeah, like you don't want to be. That's not something that you want to be. You know,
that's like a word attributed to. You remember the word cad? You know, like, oh, you're a cad, like a scoundrel. Right. That is something you use. That's like straight out of 1965. You know, that heel.
You know what it is? So it's the same exact thing that folks had with the word pimp.
Oh yeah,
because for the first 80 years of this damn country, or first 80 years of the 20th century, right? When you call somebody a pimp, that was a bad thing.
That's a negative connotation, man.
A very negative connotation. It was not until the late 80s to the 90s and the 2000s that being a pimp became a thing. So like there's a lot of stuff where, you know, people will take a word and then bastardize it into something that they want it to be, you know? So Yeah, no, it's and you know, when it comes to this whole gimmick life thing that folks love to do, it's just like, all right. I mean,
No,
you keep on. It's like the Princess Bride. You keep saying this word, but I don't think you know what it means.
like yeah, you're just misusing the terminology. And
Right.
I've had people, come at me a little bit and say, "Well, look at your gimmick," and I'm thinking, I don't have a gimmick. I'm cranky. I don't like most people. I
Right.
hate loud noises. How is this a gimmick? I
Mhm.
am legitimately like this all the time. Ask my closest friends. They could tell you I'm normally cranky. I'm Clint Eastwood, get off my lawn from Gran Torino.
Right.
That is who I've been since I was 16 years old. Yes, if we're cool, I'll be cool with you and we'll be on friendly terms.
Right.
But I do get salty from time to time just because people are stupid a
Yep.
lot of the time. They do stupid, nonsensical things that just baffle my brain to the point where I just want to slap the crap out of you. So when people say, "Oh, you're living a gimmick too," no, I'm not. I'm
Right.
like this at work. I'm like this at the center I run. I'm like this in my personal life. And you know what? People still like me. So I think I'm doing okay. So it's not a gimmick.
Yep.
Like, you're not a gimmick. This is who you are. We
Right.
talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, anime, wrestling.
Exactly. And that's what I do with my friends. Like when I am outside of here, I talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, anime. I'll throw some pro wrestling in every now and then because all of them don't really watch it.
Mhm.
But like basically what you see me talk about online on Twitter is what I talk about in real life. That's what I do in real life. This isn't like some sort of a gimmick. Like anytime you have, and you can go back through, of course, people evolve over time. But if you go back through my Twitter feed since like 2013 or 2011 or whenever it was that I initially got on Twitter, it's crazy that it's been that long. But it's been the same shit. It's been the same thing the whole time, essentially. So yeah, like this whole thing of, and you notice it too, like you have folks that will pop up in the pro wrestling space that'll be like, they start off bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then they turn into this little gimmick that they've come up with or that they want to be. And next thing you know, all of that falls apart when something bad happens, So yeah, this whole gimmick thing, like
after a while, people just hate you because you're not even yourself anymore. You're just some facsimile of what you thought you were.
Right. Or you're like when it comes to when you come into the game saying that you want one thing and then your actions show a different thing, it's like, all right, it's time to go. It's been real. I gotta hop off the train here. Yeah, like, and it's the same thing, but it's the same exact thing that has happened with a lot of wrestlers. Like you would have folks that will have, they'll say what their gimmick is or whatever it is, and then over time, it's just like, okay, it's not that at all. Like I don't know what the hell any of this stuff is, because like you have so like what's the best way to say it? So you have a lot of folks that'll get like married to a character over time and refuse to give it up, right? Even when it's either one, not themselves, or two, just not connecting with people. You have a lot of folks that have, you see it more on the indie circuit than you do in the big orgs and in like WWE, ROH, New Japan, so on and so forth. Like you have folks that are married to that gimmick. Like one, we talk about her a lot, Santana Garrett.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Amazing in-ring worker. Oh,
we want to like Santana Garrett. Like you and I like her as an in-ring performer
when she's not smiling.
When she's not smiling like a beauty queen.
Right. But she is so married to this Wonder Woman gimmick while having the pageant smile and wave the whole time. It's like, yo, what? It none of this makes sense. And it's like, it's not as though she does things that are so outrageous and outlandish, like say a Ricochet or, say like an Io Shirai, where what they do, there's no questioning it. It is going to speak to everybody that's there, but she's really good, but she's not good enough to where it's like, okay, this character that she has, or lack thereof.
Well, they mentioned it during the Mae Young Classic with her match with Viper / Piper Niven. They mentioned she is a modern day Wonder Woman.
Right.
And I kind of did like a half tilted head thinking, well, that's a little much.
Right.
Because even Wonder Woman don't smile that much.
Right. No, and Wonder Woman kills people.
Exactly.
Let's get this one thing straight. Wonder Woman is the one person that is the most feared person in the Justice League.
Not in Superman. Nope.
It's not Superman and it's not Batman. Yes, Batman is crazy and rich.
Paranoid AF. Yes.
Right. But Wonder Woman is the one that all of them fear. So yeah, like for them to say that about Santana Garrett is like, I know she's got the headband rocking, but that's all. That's the only thing that matches up. So yeah, but you have these folks that are like absolutely married to whatever their gimmick is, and it's just like, okay, you are never going to ascend to a higher level in this business if you aren't open, either open to changing the gimmick or tweaking it a little bit or just abandoning it altogether.
Well, think about two people. I'm going to give you two examples.
Right.
One, Ryback.
Oh yeah, the Ryback.
He has no gimmick. His gimmick is The Secret, and he lifts weights and eats. That's it.
Right. That's it. And says really stupid stuff on his podcast.
Right. Oh. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we got somebody like Jay Lethal, who has constantly, if you go back to his TNA days, he went from being Black Machismo, right, to feuding with Ric Flair, like his own little nature boy, and now he's essentially Mr. Wrestling for Ring of Honor.
Right.
That is called changing with the times.
Exactly.
Reinvention, like Jericho. I feel like Jericho has been playing himself just as he ages. He changes as he gets older. So now he's like cool dad Jericho, but even though if you saw Wrestle Kingdom, he needs to put pants on because the dad bod is a little too much for the eyesight. Tanahashi's another one. How much longer can Tanahashi be a rock star?
He can't, man. When he came with the fucking perm about a month ago, and I was like, bro, you look like Little Orphan Annie. What is going on here?
And he even realized, well,
exactly. That
wasn't a good idea at the time. Nope.
Came back at Wrestle Kingdom with the extensions in. Was like, oh, I am a bad bitch in here today. But
like the Pantene hair flip.
Exactly. So yeah, it's like Jericho's the GOAT. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Like he has been in, so it's been 3 different decades.
Yes.
And he has been awesome in every one of those decades, every single era of pro wrestling in the past 30 years, essentially. He has been awesome in it. So get that out of the way. But yeah, like he has the very rare talent of being able to change with the time, being able to recognize what works now, what worked then, and what he can take from the old days and put it in with the new. Like he is like the cool dad. Like he's gonna sit there and yes, he'll tell you about his favorite older rappers, but he'll also vibe out to your little pumps and whatever is going on right now. So it's like you need to have, if you're going to be married to a gimmick, you have to be able to change with the times. Like you wouldn't be able to bring a Hulk Hogan, even with his, bullshit that he has going on the side. You wouldn't be able to just take him now and plop him into current day.
No way. There's no
Ric Flair, you could do that with Ric Flair because that character is a universal kind of character. Hell, I mean, most of rap has modeled themselves after Ric Flair. So, like it's when you have a universal character like that, you're cool. It's okay. With Jericho, he's just been able to assimilate with whatever the current times are. And that's a rare thing.
That is a rare thing. Cause look at what he's done. He's been in multiple promotions.
Yep.
Tweaking his character just to suit the audience. Like when he went to New Japan with the build up to Omega, you could see he was an amalgam of the Nick Bockwinkel Jericho from 2008, the current Jericho calling people stupid idiots, and the Ayatollah of rock and roll back when he was doing the WCW Cruiserweight days. Like, he put all those together, and he gave you New Japan Jericho, which I feel will extend his career, especially if he just wants to stay behind a microphone.
Oh, yeah.
For another 10 years if he wants.
Oh, yeah. Like, and the thing about Jericho is he could step away from the ring and just go on commentary and just kill it. You know, like in every aspect of pro wrestling, he's great at it. You know, like when you go on the video game and the character's got a 10 in every single, that's Jericho. You know, he can do just about everything needed in this industry. But yeah, like it's so rare for that to happen, you know, like to be able to go between promotions, which that's another thing with like how they've just signed Candice LeRae also. And
what is her gimmick?
Disney print. Well, so here's the thing, right? So her primary gimmick was being the intergender, you know, pound for pound best wrestler, right? That's not going to fly in the WWE. Nope. So over like the past year or two, she has been leaning deeper and harder into her Disney fandom. And now I guarantee she is going to end up being like a weird Disney. She's going to be what Alexa Bliss initially was trying to be.
The Sparkle Princess.
The Sparkle Princess. Yeah. And like, I'll take the heat for it. I don't really care. She's not that outside of the, so that's the thing. If you take away the
yes, I get you. If you take away the intergender wrestling, yes,
that was her biggest draw on the indies. If you take away the intergender wrestling, there's nothing that's very remarkable about her. And that's, you know, you can ask a lot of people about that. You know, we saw her in the Mae Young Classic when she was wrestling a WWE style. There really wasn't a whole lot to write home about on that. So it's like, all right, I'm interested to see where they go with her character. I'm also interested to see what they do with Ricochet. Is he going to stay Ricochet? Or are they going to like try to give him some weird WWE name?
The random NXT generator? Yeah.
Yeah. Or, you know, just make it into his name is Rick O'Shea.
O'Shea. He'll be Irish. He'll be Rick O'Shea.
Like, oh yeah. Mulatto guy. Irish. Sure. It works. They're
going to team him up with No Way Jose.
Oh my God. Like I love No Way Jose. You know, dude seems like a nice guy, but bro, I'd have fought to not have that damn gimmick. Because if you know his gimmick before this, he was Dominican as fuck. Like he was ultra Dominican. And now it's just like, they neutered you, my guy.
What do you think about when gimmicks are appropriating from other cultures?
Hate it. Absolutely.
Because we've talked about that. We've talked about the Carmella thing. We've talked about Liv Morgan before she came up.
Yeah. Like, so the thing is, like, with Carmella, I don't mind it so much, right? Like, like when you are appropriating culture, there's levels to it, right? Because with the whole discussion of appropriation culture, you have appropriation, appreciation, assimilation, and exploitation, right? Those things all tend to get mixed up together, right? Yes. Like it's one thing if like, so with Carmella, I wouldn't go so far as to say that she's appropriating culture. I'd say that she appreciates culture, right? Yes. It's not like Liv Morgan, who was straight up appropriating culture, right? And if you don't know the difference between appropriation and appreciation, so with appropriation is when you have either act or a way of dressing or actions that when a specific either ethnic group or cultural group, when they do it, they are demonized for it. It's bad. But then when you take it and another culture does it, it's lauded as this, it's this great thing. It's amazing. We see it a lot in, in fashion, especially where, you'll have like a year or two ago when, Kim Kardashian or Khloe, one of the Kardashians did.
Insert a Kardashian here. Yeah.
Yeah. She had her hair braided. And the, fashion magazines were like, oh man, she created this new style of braiding your hair back. Excuse me, what? Black and Latino women have been doing this literally for a century, right? Like you had, the whole thing of like folks with like tattooing and so on and so forth. It's like, all right, whatever. But appreciation. So it's appreciation is when you do that same thing, but you always, go back and say, oh, I got this from such and such. I respect such and such this much. You are actually doing something positive for that group of people that you got this from. Right. And like with Liv Morgan, she's sitting there like she's speaking in the slang. She's doing all this stuff. She's making gun noises in her promos and stuff. And we're just like,
oh no, baby, no.
It's like, don't do that. Don't do that in the hood because you sit there talking about you might actually get shot.
What part of Jersey are you from again, Liv? Come on now.
Exactly. Because I dare guarantee if you go over East Orange, it ain't gonna go over too well. So like like when you appropriate cultures,
what about when you take a culture that, let's say, remember Crime Time?
Yep. Hated it.
And now we have the Street Profits.
Right. So you have, and that's the thing. So, and the other thing too is it depends on how
it's portrayed.
People, not just how it's portrayed, but how the people actually go with it. Like the New Day was like the best example of getting the wild stereotype gimmick. They came out as fucking preachers and motivational speakers. So it's like they came out to gospel music and
power positivity, baby.
Power positivity. Whoa, okay. But like with the Street Profits, even back then, I did not like it because it was already, they're sitting there like literally stealing. They're stealing Lita's panties and shit. And it was like, bruh, come on.
Wait, Crime Time, you mean?
Crime Time, right. Yeah. Crime Time. So like you had that shit, and it's like, nah, bro. Like this isn't doing anything positive whatsoever. And that was in the same time span when Vince McMahon was wearing do-rags, calling folks niggas. So So I remember
that.
Right. So like back then that was some bullshit. But with the Street Profits, you can tell one that these are two dudes that are actually having fun.
Yes.
Right. And you could tell, like Crime Time, I know that you could ask them now and they'd be like, oh, we came up with the bullshit. I do not believe that whatsoever. So like when you have with the Street Profits, like you can tell they're having fun, and it's like it comes through the camera, especially with Montez Ford.
Oh, he definitely is having a good old time, man.
That dude is going to be like when him and I guess
Bianca,
when they're on the main roster, my God, sky's the limit for them. But yeah, like you can tell that they're having fun, and it's not, they're not talking about stealing stuff. They're not talking about, they are essentially like the two dudes on Instagram that are fronting about stuff, and it's great. Like it works. It's because it's a fun gimmick, and it's not doing any damage to the social group that they represent. Right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not like Muhammad Hassan, who wasn't even
Italian. He was
a fucking Italian. Yes. Right. So like when you have these types of gimmicks, and it's just like, yeah, nah, this ain't working, my guy. This ain't. But then you have the folks like the Street Profits where it works, like if you're gonna go with the stereotype, at least make sure the people that are doing the stereotype, one, aren't doing anything to harm the group of people that they're representing, and two, are actually having fun doing it. Like that bleeds over into it. With the New Day is like the best example of that. The New Day and the Usos, I should say. Like they both, that gimmick is them turned.
You could tell they're all having fun when they're doing their thing on the microphone, when the ring, it's like an extra oomph because they're loving what they're doing. Gimmick, in ring, it all comes together. And that comes off really naturally on television as opposed to some force-fed, I don't want to bring up Roman, but what they've tried to do with Roman for so long. Right. And they went from giving him corny catchphrases like suffer succotash to making him the brooding assassin of the Shield. Like that's what he came up as.
Right.
And now he's just
The big dog.
The big dog. It's my yard. And I'm thinking, I liked it better when you came, beat the crap out of people, and left.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I don't think. So the higher-ups don't realize what actually got him over to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He wasn't even the most popular member of the Shield.
Nope.
Back in the day.
Nope.
Rollins and Ambrose were always more popular than him, right? Mm-hmm. And he had the combination of being pretty as hell, and being able to go in the ring. So of course, yes, a certain segment of the fan base is going to be attracted towards that. That's completely understand it. Fine with that. But like when you're trying to make him a character that he isn't, and we can tell, the perfect example of that is when he got body bagged on the microphone by John Cena.
That was hilarious.
John Cena put him twice, 2 weeks in a row, put him in a body bag. And it wasn't even like it was close, It was
the line that got me was when Cena's like, "I'm here because you can't do your job."
Right.
And I'm thinking, ooh, yes, you might want to take that L and just walk over there. Just take the L.
Exactly. As Nas once said, it's ether. It's the shit that makes your soul burn slow. And
down to the spirit of a man.
That was that whole promo was like, ooh, oh my God. So bad. But
any thoughts on speaking of Roman, any thoughts on the link to the steroid allegations?
So it's one of those things. So here's the thing about steroid use, right? And a lot of folks, being that I am a fan of other combat sports as well, steroid use is a very tricky thing because steroids come in a million different forms.
Right.
I had to take steroids as a kid because I had really bad asthma. I would have asthma attacks that lasted a month long. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when folks pop for steroids, sure, there are performance enhancing steroids that are going to help you go longer in the gym, so that you don't tire out and, things like that. There are also steroids that help your body repair themselves.
Yeah.
And when you're in a business like this, where you're literally working 300 some odd days out of the year, so a very, very, very physical and, thing that takes a toll out on your body, you kind of have to, you really kind of have to.
Yeah, it goes back to also in sports with baseball. It's a 162 game season,
right?
And people were getting zapped all the time for performance enhancing drugs because it's a grind. When you're doing your in ring stuff, 330 days out of the year,
right?
So look at all the injuries that are happening now. Everyone's getting injured left and right on the main roster or have a nagging injury. You go and take what you can to stay on the road. I don't know how Ambrose did it.
Right.
I don't know how he didn't take a day off, but now he's injured. So it's always, and I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying Roman is guilty before being presumed innocent. All I'm saying is I am not surprised when an athlete is linked to performance-enhancing drugs. This goes back to his original suspension that Trina and I had covered on Last Mark a long time ago. Mm-hmm. The man, Joe Anoa'i of the famous Anoa'i family, maybe he took something to get himself over the hump because you need to recover. Wrestling has been described as a car crash, a minute-by-minute car crash. Just like with NFL, you need to recover. And some of these performance-enhancing drugs allow you to recover faster. Right. HGH was something that, in the title, human growth hormone, it is to regrow. It is to heal up and to come back, bigger, stronger, faster, $6 million man, whichever way you want to slice that banana. But I'm not mad about it if it's true. If it's not true, oh well, I'm just gonna shrug. But that's where I'm at now when it comes to athletes getting zapped for performance enhancing drugs. It's one thing if you were a scrub, and then all of a sudden you became like this perennial all-star, like our boy Sam Sosa, who now looks like Frankenberry.
Bro.
Because you and I both know he was a tad bit darker
Oh, he was
about 20 years ago.
Yeah, he was like, and this is the crazy thing about like, there are so many being island people. We both know there are layers as to why that happened, but yeah, that is he was darker skinned back in the day, and now he looks like watermelon bubblegum. So,
like when someone called him Pepto Bismol.
Yes, yes,
it's Pepto Bismol. But you see, that's the thing. It's they took something to go from being a zero to a hero, so to speak. And there's countless other athletes who, just to get that 6 or 7 figure paycheck, they were willing to take that chance. But whenever I hear a wrestler get zapped for something, I don't think it's to be from a scrub to a celeb. I think it's for survival.
Right.
I think it's more just to live the day in, day out. I mean, you see how many wrestlers and athletes get addicted to painkillers on a constant basis because they got to keep up with the grind. Man, listen, Eddie Guerrero, prime example. Couldn't keep up with the grind of being the WWE heavyweight champion, right? He asked for the belt to be taken off of him because he was probably on so much crap that he was like, you know what? I need to get off the road for a while. And what wound up happening? Heart failure.
Yep.
When I hear about these types of stories, that's what worries me. It's not in the moment. It's down the road. It goes back to when we've talked about football and CTE and concussions. That's the scary thing. When you have to think 20 years from now, is wrestler A or athlete B going to do something to hurt themselves and hurt somebody else? And now hearing that, Roman might be linked to this I guess performance enhancing doc, whatever you want to call it, fake doctor, like Tom Brady's fake doctor. And that's another topic also. How is it okay for Tom Brady to have a fake doctor on the sidelines, but everyone made fun of A-Rod's fake doctor when he was on the Yankees and on the Rangers? But I'm going to leave that lie where it is. Roman Reigns, if it's true, look, man, I think it's for survival. You don't think if I was an athlete right now and I could take something in Germany that's going to allow me to get another 5 years out of my career to continue making 6 to 7 figures, I wouldn't do it for my family, for my longevity, for my kids? Hell freaking yeah. So anyone who's going to be holier than thou, and I know we've taken it off the wrestling track and gone more big picture topic, but anyone that's going to sit there and say, I didn't know the risks, I took it by accident, is BSing you.
Right. And it's and that's the thing too. Because like anytime because we see it in MMA all the time.
Yep.
MMA and boxing all the time. Somebody pops for a steroid, pops for performance enhancing drugs. And like the whole thing of like, just as an aside, like, so the war on performance enhancing drugs is founded upon bullshit.
Yes.
It just is. Like the actual case that started the whole ban on performance enhancing drugs. There was a French cycler or something like that back in like the 1800s. And he was taking strychnine, like a small dose of strychnine, which at small doses can help your performance and things. Right. So somebody wrote in a paper that he died during the race. Right. He didn't die. He died like a decade after the race happened. But just because of that one lie, all of this that we have now has become, the empire that it is. And PED, like the performance can be for multitude of different things. Like we said, it can make you bigger, stronger, faster, but it can also repair things. It can help you lose weight. It can help you do a bunch of different things. So like when folks say, oh, you got to automatically, folks are like, oh, he's roid head. No, that's not how it works. Right. And more often than not, when I hear about it from for people in MMA and pro wrestling, I tend to believe it on most stuff, especially if it's something that helps heal. Yes. Because that shit's hard on your body. Like, sitting there slamming your body into another person and then also into a plywood, ring, and then be slammed out on the concrete with just a tiny bit of padding over it. Nah, like it's BS. And like for people to be so holier than thou about it. And it's like, I know there's a bunch of these bastards on here that crap on, folks that use steroids, but I guarantee I guarantee that they were buying Adderall off people in college to make sure that they could stay up on time to get those papers out.
Hell yeah. I mean, we all take something like for pre-workout for people who work out. I take a pre-workout before I do my my workouts. If I want to sweat more, my bodybuilder friends have suggested some weird shit that I take in order for me to sweat more in my sauna suit. We all will take something to get over. So whenever I hear about PEDs in wrestling or PEDs in sports, I don't care anymore, man. Like, you are a grown ass adult. And I want to apologize for the cussing and stuff. I don't normally do that, but you know, it's something that's really important to us. You're a grown ass adult. You know what you're taking. Don't hit me with the, well, I didn't know bullshit. You knew what you were doing. You did it for a reason. I'm not judging you for taking it. That's your decision. But don't bullshit, man. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining like they say. Like, enough of that crap.
Yeah, it's true. And like, but that's the thing too. So even with bringing it back to gimmicks, you know, like a lot of times you'll have folks that will go out on these limbs to do certain things, but then they won't own up to it as well. You know, like they won't own up to why they want this gimmick persona, you know? And if you're going to live the gimmick, then you got to live with all the consequences of the gimmick. You know, you have to, if you are a super heel, you know, like with what's his face? Dutch Mantel and what's the guy?
The Real Americans?
Yes. What was it?
Jack Swagger?
Jack Swagger, yeah. So you lived that racist, xenophobic for years. You got to deal with the consequences of that when people do not like you as a person because you lived it inside and outside of the ring. You're posting about it on social media as well. So it's like, yeah, you know, certain stuff, like if you are going to go all the way in, you got to be in at all times. And like, that's one of the things that I like about certain people on social media. Like Rosemary is one of my favorite people. I don't even watch TNA like that. Rosemary is one of my favorite characters, gimmicks, perform, just because she is always in character.
Even always in pictures outside the ring with friends, she has her face covered.
Right. Like her, who also does that in not Bull Nakano. Shit. Aja Kong. When she, even though all she has is a tiny bit of face paint on, she refuses to show her face in pictures. Like I love, and the fact that they are the gimmick outside of it when they need to be. You know, like I wish that more people were willing to do that. The Iconic Duo, love them on social media and anywhere else because they stay in character in all the transactions that they have with, you know, with anyone. So like even when they're going and signing things for fans, they are still in character, you know? So like I wish more people would do that. And I think a lot of people that don't have gimmicks that are just, you know, a character in name, it's just because they don't actually have a good understanding of themselves, because you have to be comfortable with yourself in order to be able to slip into another character. Right. You know, like how you have those you know, method actors that will completely lose their minds in order to do that, but then they can revert back to who they were. You know, like you have some of the more tragic incidences like Heath Ledger, but you have other people that can become characters. And
what's his face? Jared Leto is another one.
Jared Leto, Christian Bale.
Mm-hmm.
What's the guy from
Benicio del Toro?
Benicio del Toro. Yes.
Who else? The Daniel Day-Lewis is another one.
Daniel Day-Lewis. That's who I was thinking of.
He is like the epitome of method acting.
Yeah.
Where he can just totally engross himself in a movie, in a role, and he loses himself in the role. And then when it's award season or he's doing the junket tour, he's himself. Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute. Right. Whoa. Okay.
Right. Like you were an entire psychopath in this movie, but
now you're as charming as the day is long, which leads me to a different psychological conversation about actors and psychoses and, you know, but that's for another day. We'll do that another time. Right. Just want to wrap up really quick. I know we got to get out of here soon. Are there any shows you want to plug that you think listeners should be listening to right now? Podcasts, movies, TVs, anything?
Podcasts that I think they should be listening to. It depends on what your tastes are. There's a few podcasts for pro wrestling. Wrestle Rap is a good one. That's with Kazim Famuyide, and oh my god, I can't believe that I have forgotten his name. But there's a last name Sparks. Sorry, it'll come back to me at some point.
It was like Emiliano Sparks or something.
Emilio Sparks. There you go. Yes. Love those two dudes. Always have interesting conversations. They are really good at having whoever it is that they're interviewing open up, because they're not just talking about pro wrestling stuff. Like they've talked with, you know, a lot of these quote unquote lil rappers, all the rappers that have the lil in front of their name.
Yeah.
Had a few of those on there and talking pro wrestling with them, and like they open up about the stuff. That's a good one. If you like hip hop, I suggest you go back and listen to the Combat Jack show. Rest in peace to Combat Jack. He just passed away from complications from cancer. Damn. But a really good way of seeing how interviewers can have people open up. Probably one of the best interviewers I've ever heard in any platform. You know, like he has pried things out of people that didn't think were possible. Highly recommend you watch that or listen to that. If TV shows, anything like that, depends on what you're looking for. If you're into anime, you want something trippy, try Devilman Crybaby.
Oh, I saw that online. Yeah,
it's good, but it's trippy. I should
watch this.
It's trippy. It's an acid trip in every single episode. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I can really think of now. Okay. I've been binge watching The Gifted, and I just saw the Black Lightning episode yesterday. Wow, that was awesome. Whew, yes. Was not expecting that, but that is probably CW's best pilot for any show that they've done in the superhero realm. Yeah, because I think they've learned their lesson from all of the dumb stuff that they've done in the past with the Flash, with Arrow and
Legends of Tomorrow.
Like they had a bunch of missteps on how they came out the gate with that stuff. Another thing too, where the actors didn't have good grasps of who the characters actually were. Right. So, and it showed on the screen. Not so much with this one. It's
okay, good.
Yeah. So I'd recommend those. Can't really think of any other podcasts or anything like that right now. So, but yeah, I recommend those things right now.
I want to do a quick what I watched the other day, because I've been on I think I told you, I've been on this trek to watch all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in order to prepare myself for not only for Avengers, but for Black Panther, because I went back and I watched Civil War, and it got me excited for Black Panther more so than actually Avengers 4 and 5 or whatever the hell you want to call these Avengers movies, Infinity War and Avengers 4. What I went back and watched again yesterday, I went back and I watched The Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And I have some really weird feelings about the dynamic between Captain America and the Black Widow. I don't know if Scarlett Johansson wakes up with that look on her face, the come get it look.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's her natural look or that was just for the movie, but every time I saw the Black Widow, she had the lips pouted, I'm sorry, Steve.
Right.
And you know what look I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, no, like we commented on it while we were watching the movie the first time. We were like, wait a minute.
Why does it look like she's trying to seduce Captain America at every turn?
Right. And it just and the thing is, that carried over into other movies too. It carried over into Civil War. Mm-hmm. There was even like the weird dynamic that she had with Hawkeye, and it's like, and then you find out that Hawkeye is married, and it's like, hold on,
wait a minute, they had like a friends with benefits kind of relationship, and all of a sudden he's married,
right,
and she's Aunt Nat. What?
Exactly. It was like, okay, this is, it took a while for them to start closing these massive plot holes that they were doing, but they've gotten.
It bothered me so much rewatching it. I'm thinking, yo, is she trying to and pardon my French, people, is she trying to like go down on Captain America right now? Because
right, yeah, no, like it was one of those things where it was like, yo, we have no idea like
what to do with Black Widow in this situation.
Exactly, and I know now she's probably gonna get a solo flick, which I'm sorry, everybody doesn't need to have a solo flick. Like I understand empowerment and all that stuff, but I don't like. In order to go back and have her own, you're going to have to delve into her past, and that's not going to be this. That's not the tone that you can really do in the current, landscape.
I mean, if you go back, you and I understand the comic verse for the most part, and if you go back and analyze the Black Widow character, it is not going to be a story of empowerment. If you go back and channel her childhood to with the Russian KGB and the Black Widow program, it's like
a lot of abuse.
Dude, like, no, I don't know if this is something you want to really traverse into, but maybe you do, because we want to be able to show the good, bad, and ugly for all genders, and that's fine. But we're also getting Captain Marvel in, was it 2019? We're getting Captain Marvel?
I think 2019, yeah.
So like, you could have waited a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And like, it's like I said, not everybody needs to have a solo movie. Like they're doing the solo Gambit movie, which is going to be trash.
I had no interest whatsoever.
I have no interest. So like, one, Gambit was rapey as hell.
Yep.
No two ways about it. Yep. Rapey as hell. He's also a dick. He speaks in a phonetic version of what they think people from the Bayou speak. And it is so bad. Like, and Channing Tatum is not that good of a fucking actor. So
no, he's not. I'm sorry.
Everybody does not
involved. No.
Exactly. Even when that's the thing. Even when dancing is involved, there are people that are better than him. Like it's so. But yeah, like it's everybody doesn't need to have their own flick. And like when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, trying to go back and watch some of those older movies, woof.
Yeah, I told you when I went back and watched
Thor,
The Incredible Hulk. No, I went back and I rewatched The Incredible Hulk because I distinctly remember watching this movie and thinking, Tim Roth is a good freaking actor. I like Tim Roth. Norton's not as bad as Banner was. Okay. And then I watch it 10 years later or 9 years later, and I'm thinking the only redeeming thing in this movie was still Tim Roth, and then it was Samuel Stearns, the leader, or what would have been the leader. Other than that, throw the baby out with the bathwater. That movie was garbage. William Hurt as Thunderbolt Ross was insufferable from beginning to end. He was the epitome of Norman Schwarzkopf in that whole damn movie, like America F yeah, war guy.
And the thing that got me back in the day, so you had him, and then you had in Spider-Man, the boss. Damn it. I am terrible with names today.
J. Jonah Jameson?
J. Jonah Jameson. They essentially play the exact same character, even though those are two very different characters. And it was like, what is going on here? I do not get what's going on here. But yeah, they've made strides in, trying to not do that anymore. So if you try to go back and watch that stuff from the beginning, it's rough. Just like trying to go back and watch the Star Wars movies is wow, that's rough.
Yeah,
like from episode 1 up to now, just because the tone of things are so different, like it's rough.
And I feel like this is going to be our next episode of Podcast Champs. We're going to delve more into the comic lore and just how Marvel gets it right versus how Marvel gets it wrong.
Yeah, because there's a lot of it. Like, and because I know a lot of folks love to be like, "Oh, everybody's on Marvel's dick." No. They just had to learn. They've had a longer time to learn. They've been doing this over a decade now, and DC's only been doing it for about 5 or 6 years, and they don't learn from their mistakes ever.
No, ever. And we'll get into that in the next episode. But from all of us here at Podcast Champs, your boy Damien Salty G. Find me at Dare to Be Damien. Dio, you can find him at I'm Just Dio on Twitter. Tweet us. Let us know what you think of the show, what topics we should cover. Find the show on various podcasting sites as well as my own YouTube channel. You can get there by clicking on the link. I'll tweet it out later. And without you guys, there is no us. So talk to you later.
Peace.